jobs.
We're going to have to call it here for the Congressman to get. Tanya, I really want to get your question in, but we're not going to have time to answer it.
That's fine. I don't want her. I
don't want you to be like
I don't want her. Look, my daughter is already going to be mad.
Congressman Gowdy, I'm Tanya Littlejohn from Patriot.
Yes, ma'am. I was just in your town.
On May 11th, in the House Judiciary Subcommittee, you and Bruce Fein went back and forth and back and forth. And I want to tell you, all this stuff spread out here. My Post-its have Post-its, okay, since May, because I was very disturbed with your argument, because when I was listening to you, your tone was more like you had pom-poms for the state. I mean, that's really what I interpreted. You said we may find out in 10 years that we're all wrong. Do you remember saying that?
Well, I'm not saying I did.
Okay. What I'd like to say is Benjamin Franklin said that it's the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority. How much more should it be said that my congressman should not allow himself in Congress to simply broaden authority and also admit we may find out in 10 years that we're all wrong?
What was the issue?
This is about the Patriot Act and the exceptions, because Congressman Gowdy, can I finish? I'm almost done, and then I'll be glad to hear what you have to say. You seem to be in favor of the exceptions, and we're arguing for the exceptions.
For what?
This was in the Patriot Act, the roving wiretaps, the lone wolf, and then I can't remember what the other one is. What I want to ask you is, what about the fellow that comes after you and assumes your power? Can you guarantee that if you allow broad exceptions to the Fourth Amendment today, that they will not be abused in the future? John Adams said, liberty once lost is lost forever. Can you guarantee me of my future liberty and the liberty of my children?
Let me say this. Bruce Fein, contrary to the introduction to your question, and I actually have a phenomenal relationship. I told him before he testified and again after that I admire the heck out of the fact that he questions government. And that's exactly what he ought to do.
I did see you say that.
Well, you didn't put that in your introduction, so I wasn't sure whether or not you said it.
I did see it. I've watched it over and over.
I've also told him since then that even though he and I disagree, I want him to come here so people who agree with him can hear him. I'm not afraid of the Bruce Fein's arguments. I happen to agree with some of them. There's 17 parts of the Patriot Act. We were talking about 3 of them. The 3 most benign parts. We weren't talking about national security letters.
Business records? That's not benign. That touches everything.
Your business records aren't protected now. All you got to do is get a subpoena for your business records. Actually, it's harder to get your business records under the Patriot Act than it is not under the Patriot Act. It is harder to investigate a terrorism case than it is a child pornography case under the Patriot Act. Anybody in law enforcement can go get a list of the books checked out of this library by you.
Right.
So why do we want, but if it's a terrorism case, they have to go to a FISA judge to get that judge to approve the warrant. They don't have to go to a judge in any other category of crime. So all I'm asking, and Mr. Fein, and again, I'll say it again, Mr. Fein and I have absolutely no issues whatsoever with one another.
I'm not really worried about your relationship. I'm worried about your attitude that I've heard that he conveyed.
Let me ask you this. If law enforcement witness Dr. Jeffrey, not this Dr. Jeffrey, that Dr. Jeffrey, shooting me right now, would law enforcement be able to arrest him?
They would have to go to a judge, wouldn't they?
So you want law enforcement to leave the library and go get a warrant to arrest Dr. Jeffrey even though they witnessed him shoot me?
Yes.
You and I just disagree on what the Fourth Amendment says. The Fourth Amendment talks about unreasonable searches and seizures.
Right.
The issue is whether or not witnessing a felony take place, if it's unreasonable for law enforcement to apprehend that person and then go get a warrant. But, I mean, that's fine that you view it differently, but
It's fuzzy. I wouldn't say that I would, that I actually totally agree that if, somebody shot him dead, that the cops couldn't do something immediately. But I mean, there need to be safeguards.
Well, then you agree, there are safeguards, then you agree with at least one exception to the Fourth Amendment. You already agree with one. If you agree with the ability to apprehend a felon who commits a crime in the presence of law enforcement, you already agree with an exception to the Fourth Amendment. Let me ask you this. If you're executing a search warrant looking for child pornography and you happen to see cocaine, should you be able to take the cocaine?
That's plain field, right?
That's an exception to the Fourth Amendment. That's the plain view doctrine.
Right.
The plain field doctrine is if you're tapping somebody down and you feel a gun, can you take it? Those are three exceptions. There are 14 others that I asked Mr.
But how much
Fein
further are we going to go with it?
Maybe we shouldn't call those exceptions because they're reasonable.
They're viewed as exceptions to the no warrant requirement, to the requirement that you have to know at all times.
But not to the Fourth Amendment, not really.
They're not exceptions to the Fourth Amendment. It all comes down to how you interpret what the word reasonable is. And look, I'll say to you the same thing I said to Bruce Fein. Thank the Lord somebody is questioning the Bureau and the Department of Justice and everyone else. I actually appreciate the heck out of him coming. As I said, he and I don't have any problems with each other. I'm sorry if you took my tone to be disrespectful. He did.
No, I didn't take your tone to be disrespectful. I took your tone to be like, well, in 10 years, we might all be wrong. So, I mean,
And in 10 years,
Bruce is an argumentative guy.
We're going to have the Congressman down here. Thank you very much. Before everyone leaves, I'd like to make an announcement. There's a Constitution Day event being held at Bowling Springs Community Park in Bowling Springs on Saturday, September the 17th. I believe it starts at 11 o'clock. 11 to 2. We'll be giving away some of these constitutions to those younger than 18. So if you put on, your pigtails and come down, we might get you one.
And also, it was spotless when you came in, so take any trash you have with you, please.
Please do pick up the trash. Janice, before you go, I got to see